Hey guys, it's Link here, and I've been playing around in Nuke 10 recently, specifically Nuke X, and I've been playing around with these things called smart vectors, and I think it's something that you guys are going to love. I've basically taken this is the finished result of what I was doing, and it's basically like I've added the bullet wounds, and I've actually also changed the color of his backpack and the straps of his backpack and like the blood pooling around the bullet wounds. This is the original footage. You see, he's got an orange backpack, he's got blue straps, and even though there's like little bits of blood on his shirt, he's absolutely not shot. So that's been added, and I can tell you that I've never used smart vectors before, and I put this together in 10 minutes. It is so ridiculously easy. So the first thing we do is we get a smart vector. This is one I prepared earlier, but for you guys, you'll have to open up one of these, and now if you look through it, you're going to get an error. This thing is kind of like a write node to start with. You got to write the renders before you can. You've got to write the vectors before you can use them. So you go into your file here. In this case, this project was called Time Warp. I created a folder called vectors, and then for whatever file I was writing out the vectors for, I would like create a folder for that and then write out vectors. I just called them vectors, put in the file padding .exr, and I wrote them out. So you just hit render here, it'll go through that. It'll take, but it won't take long. It'll take about, for these ones, it'll take about 2 minutes or so, and it's super fast. If you got longer footage, then obviously it's going to take longer. So, and I apologize for my voice. I'm kind of sick right now. Got my radio man voice. So the first thing you do is go into input. I go from 0 and I rotoed his straps in this case. So yeah, we got the straps here, and then we just kind of do the things I've been teaching you guys before, things like hue correct. Hue correct didn't help. I didn't get much in the luminance for this. It was affecting far too much because that there isn't very much discrepancy between the straps and his t-shirt. Everything was kind of going haywire, so I just added a grade because I figured the vector distort will give me some of, well, the vector distort, I'll explain that in a sec, is going to be what you're using as your tracker. So what you do is, that's going to use this, you're going to put in a vector distort. Oh, there's there. Okay, so your smart vector here, you see that it says smart vector that goes into your smart vector. That's pretty much it. Source is whatever you're trying to affect. In this case, it'd be the roto. Goes in here. You open this up. You got your reference frame at 0 because that's where we put in our rotos. Our rotos are put in at 0, so we want our reference frame to be 0. It's just like a tracker. Frame distance, I can explain that to you guys later, but it's kind of like a way to kind of smooth things out or make things quicker depending on like how much the footage is moving. So we plug that in. All these dots here, they're all plugged in. It's just hidden inputs because, you know, my OCD, like I explained to you guys, I like to keep things nice and clean. All right, so I put this in. We plug this in now. This is set to 0. And if we look at here, and we look at the roto here, now there is a change here, but if you look at this roto, only one of the rotos changed, and it's this guy right here, because this strap was giving me a little bit of grief, so I just kind of did a little bit of tweaking in that one. The rest haven't moved. They stick like glue. So yeah, I play it through. Not too shabby. So yeah, we got that one in, did the exact same thing with the orange backpack. The only thing is with this one, I had to move it a little bit more because you couldn't really tell the difference between his hair and his, like, you know, the backpack. So I kind of had to move that out a little bit to cover more of the backpack at the back. This is just a holdout for his face because towards the end, the hue correct was starting to eat into his face. If I take this off, you can see they're starting to eat his face. So yeah, that's all that was. Super quick little roto. Let's hide the blood pools for now. Now we go back to 0. We've added in the bullet wounds. So put in a reformat here. This is where it's important that you've made sure that you've fixed your settings at the start. So this was 1920 by 1080. So you have to go into your settings and make sure that you have them set to HD, which is 1080. In this case, when you put into the reformat, change it to none, keeps the size, mask out what you actually want, change the size of it, placement, put it in, and you get this. Now, put that into the vector store. It's the same thing, still reference frame 0. Everything's going from there. Now, if you haven't set up your settings properly and you put in a reformat, and that means that the reformat is not reformatting to this size, you're going to get this. All the input formats must be the same. That means that it can't use the smart vectors if you aren't applying it to footage that is the same size as where the smart vectors are coming from. That's why it's important to get those settings sorted out right from the start, guys. All right, so we're looking through here. These stick amazingly, like pretty solid right there. And like, you know, in a short amount of time, that's really pretty good. Got your blood pools here. All I did for that is go to 0, put in a like rough location for them, go into this guy, just make it bigger. Now, if you have time, I'd put a little bit more variation into it, like make it look like a proper blood pool. Maybe you kind of think about the wrinkles in the shirt where it should be going. Just make it a little bit bigger. And then if I take these guys off, put them behind the bullet wounds, now you can see that they grow. And there's an additional grade in here. That was just because things were getting a little too light in this section, so I added an additional grade just to kind of darken it up a little bit more. I could show you how that works by just removing it there. See, it was just a little too light, but I didn't want it to affect this part because this part was looking good right at the end. So you see how I didn't want it to affect too much of this because it just looked too much. All right, so that's pretty much it. It's super fast, super easy. Remember, this footage is actually from YouTube. This is from two guys, Rhett and Link, a different Link, not me. And they both they film in high quality footage and they upload in high quality, but it's, you know, as soon as you upload it to YouTube, there's compression, and then when you download it from YouTube, there's even more compression. So this footage is not the best. There's not a lot of detail. If you see his glasses here, they're kind of a little jaggy. It's super smooth, no grain, like very little detail in here. It's not good. This is not the kind of footage you would ever be dealing with professionally. But the fact that the smart vectors did such a good job speaks volumes. It's just done a great job. Now, the great thing about having the vectors is, like, just how I've explained to you guys before about how to use like any 2D tracker to create a motion blur. You can do the exact same thing with the smart vectors. You just have to copy in those channels and use those channels to create your motion blur. So I did the exact same setup as all this for a different shot, but in this one you can see that it's actually moving. And yeah, I used the vectors to the smart vectors to create the motion blur, and very simple case. And this one was the exact same. It just tracked fantastically. This one sticks to his chest. It's pretty beautiful if you ask me. It just does a great job. Now, the only time I had any issues with smart vectors was in this shot, and this is merely because he's got his arm in front of everything, and it just wasn't able to calculate it properly. Now, there's ways around this. In this case, though, just with how everything was kind of, how little was moving, and you could easily just track this in Mocha, so I gave up and went straight to Mocha, and I got a very good track of this very quickly. And I used smart vectors for the strap and the bag, but for the chest, that was Mocha. But like from what you can see here, guys, it's like amazing what you can get done in like 10 minutes. Now imagine if you can set this up in 10 minutes, then you got so much time to properly tweak this. This is not good. This is horrible. This is not something you would ever get away with professionally. Like, look at these edges. It's really bad. These don't look real. If you were going to make these look real, you'd want to like put in like part of a chest in there, make it look like the t-shirt's actually torn and bloody. You want blood to actually be coming from the wound. You want to add in some speck. You want to make this a little bit darker. You want to affect the core more than the outer. There's a lot of things you'd have to do in this shot to make it look good. As a quick throwaway video, this was more than enough, but yeah, there's a lot of stuff you would do to make this look better. So what I want you guys to do is, like, I've put links to everything in the email, and I want you guys to kind of open this up. I want you to, try this out yourself. See what you guys can do. It doesn't have to be this shot. You can find good quality footage and do it yourself. I just want to see something where you use the smart vectors and like see what you guys can come up with and spend more than 10 minutes on it like I did. It's like spend more time on it. Get something good. Don't give me any rubbish like this. All right. So yeah, if you have any problems, hit me up on email or whatever. You got my number, so you can text me, whatever. And yeah, let's see what you guys can come up with. Good luck.